What's up, guys? This is going to be the full card breakdown for UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Moraes. It's coming up Saturday, 5 o'clock start time for the prelims. So first thing, I had a few people tell me that they weren't getting notifications. They missed the last video. One guy said that he got it 3 days late. So for this week, if you guys could hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. I've been giving out my bets for free every event for a while now. I've maintained over 65% since I started the channel. 8 out of the last 10 cards have been profitable, so hopefully I've earned a like. And I'm not just giving away one big favorite. I give away my full lineup. And like I said, I've been winning consistently the entire time I've been making videos. One thing I haven't done lately is reviews of how things have been going. When I win, I don't normally talk about it. So, every month or maybe every other card now, I'll go over how I'm doing, go over all the bets. So here's the past 4 cards. Like I said, 8 of the past 10 have been profit. I've had 2 6-1 nights in the past month, 18-8 overall, and 3 out of the 4 weeks were profit this past month. Most of the bets that I make are close to even money, so it's been a really good year. And I have to admit, I was doing well before I started this channel, but since I started it, I've done better. And I think it's because, I'm looking at every fight now, finding a lot more spots. Before, I would look into the fights that stood out to confirm that what I was thinking was a good bet, but now I look into everything, and it's definitely paid off. Not only that, I'm even more picky when I'm recommending bets to other people, because I know a few of you guys tail and put money behind my advice, so that's helped me as much as it's helped the people that are tailing. So thanks to everybody that supports my videos. I don't always do big numbers. I'm not the most exciting. I don't crack a whole lot of jokes, but I am in the 1% that consistently wins money betting the fight. So when it comes to YouTube, there's a ton of smoke and mirrors. That's why I post my bets in print with timestamps at the end of every video. I don't just give out that one bet that everyone else has, or is already picking to win. I give out everything, and sometimes, 2 or 3 pages, and I win far more than I lose. So that said, let's get into it. I'm going to do things a little bit different this week. I'm going to go over the bets and props on this card as opposed to just talking about all the fights. So let me just pull up the bet site here. All right. I'm going to use Bet365. This site does have the over-under at 1.5 for all the fights, so, definitely can come in handy when looking for a final leg on a parlay. But the first fight we'll talk about, Youssef Zalal and Topuria. From what I saw on tape, and there are a few fights on YouTube for anybody that's interested, it doesn't take long to get a read on this guy. I'd say, maybe watch the 2 fights that are on there. They're both pretty quick. And that can be an issue as well, right? Fighters that aren't really accustomed to going out of the first or second round can have problems, at the midway point, especially making your UFC debut. So that is something that I'm looking at. And the line actually has gone down quite a bit. I put in a bet. It was at 2.6 at the time. So a few people have taken a shot. The issue that I have with Topuria, though, first, like I said, hasn't spent much time out of the first and second round. And second, this is definitely going to be the toughest opponent that he's fought. Youssef Zalal is a guy that I'm really high on. I bet him in his last 2 fights. I think he's a really good prospect, and I think that he's really dangerous. In the fight against Griffin, and I think that was his last fight, he did have a couple spots in that fight where he struggled. He dominated for the latter, but I think that a guy like Topuria, he shoots a really good takedown. He's really quick with it, and when he gets it to the mat, he's on his opponent like glue. I definitely give him the advantage when it comes to the grappling if it does hit the mat. And I think at some point throughout the 3 rounds, if he does have his cardio in check, he seems to be in really good shape. It's just, the dominance is the reason that he hasn't gotten out of that first round. I think if it does hit the mat, Zalal could be in some trouble. Definitely if you have your money on Zalal and it goes to the ground, I'd be worried about it. So I do have a bet on Topuria, and the reason that I really looked into this fight as much as I did is I was surprised to see the line start where it did for a guy coming in making his debut, and I was wondering, what was up with that. So I looked into this guy's fights, and I was really impressed. He actually has a knockout in one of the fights that I looked at as well. I would give the striking advantage to Zalal, but, he threw a big bomb, clipped the guy in his chin, and put him out quick. So he has the power in his hands. He's got really good grappling. And a lot of times, I'm going to go with the fighter with the grappling advantage. So as much as I am high on Youssef Zalal, I think, this is kind of a one-off as far as me picking his opponent to win. Because in most of the fights in that division right now, as far as building him up as a prospect goes, I think he's going to beat most of those opponents, but this is going to be a tough one. And because the line where it was at 2.6, I did take a shot. So that is the first bet of the night, Topuria, and I'm going to say he gets a submission in the first round. Next up, I'll talk about Tom Aspinall and Alan Baudot, I think it is. So the line's been really beat up at this point. If you're looking to, boost up another line that you don't think's great. So if you were to take Tom Aspinall and pair him up with, let's say, Ben Rothwell, it'll get you close to plus money. Or even, what was the other one? Omar Morales. I mean, for me, the numbers where they're at for Rothwell and Morales are good enough for straight bets. But if you're looking to bump those up to plus money, Tom Aspinall would be one to look at. But again, I don't see any real value in that line. He's only had one fight in the UFC. He was dominant, and he has really good boxing. So I do like him to win, but, not a line that I'm a big fan of. I would say that this one is not going to go the distance, so we'll check what that's looking like. The fight to go the distance is the same odds as Aspinall, so you might even want to look at that as opposed to betting on him. That way you cover either way the fight goes. But next fight I want to talk about, Edson Barboza and Makwan Amirkhani. So this is another line that, I don't really think is that great. Amirkhani is probably going to look to get it to the ground. I don't think he's going to look to strike very long with Barboza. I mean, I could be wrong. If he does get the better of an early exchange, he might look to keep it on the feet for a while. But I definitely like Barboza, especially with the leg kicks and, the kicking game in general. I think he could do some damage with that. So I'm going to say Barboza by third round TKO. And that's going to be a really good fight. I'm looking forward to that one. So next I'll talk about another bet that I put in, Ben Rothwell. This is one that is a little bit tougher. It was tough at first. I thought it could go either way for the most part, but looking into tape, Ben Rothwell, he's got more power. He just had that fight with Ovince St. Preux, and I thought in that fight that he would definitely get the win. It was closer than I thought it should be, but Ovince St. Preux, he had the speed advantage in that fight, and he's a bigger guy for light heavyweight, so not really out of the realm of possibility that he could pick up a win at heavyweight. But Ben Rothwell got the job done in that one, and I think, Tybura is one of the easier matchups at heavyweight for him. Both of these guys are never going to be champ at the latter end of their career, and I do like Rothwell to get it done. I'm going to say by TKO in the second round. The line is pretty close to accurate, so I wouldn't say there's a ton of value there, but for this card, it was one of the lines that interested me a bit more. So there is a bet there on Ben Rothwell. The next bet's going to be Omar Morales. Again, so this line is the exact same as Ben Rothwell. So I would have liked to seen it a little bit closer to a pick'em. But I do like Omar Morales to win. Giga Chikadze has, done better than I expected in some of his fights. Jamal Emmers, I didn't expect him to get the win in that one. But Omar Morales, I feel like he's going to be prepared for this fight. He has the advantage on the ground. I don't know if he's going to look to get it there. I mean, he has been content to strike in most of his fights. Giga is a kickboxer, so, it would probably be smart for Morales just to try to lock him up and get it to the mat. But Giga has shown that he can actually, work his way back to his feet a lot of the time. So it could be a good fight, but I just think that overall Omar Morales is the better fighter. So another bet there, straight bet. So now let's talk about a couple underdogs. AlQaisi, I believe it's pronounced, and Tony Kelley. So the thing about this fight is the line. I mean, I don't think Tony Kelley should be this much of a favorite to anybody. AlQaisi, in his first fight, he was mixing it up. He didn't look like, he was too gassed out. But with Tony Kelley, he gasses out midway through the fight. I think he might get the first round, but I wouldn't be surprised to see AlQaisi start to take over as the fight progresses and pick up that decision win or even a late submission. He's a grappler. He looks to get it to the mat. He's going to look to get a submission. He's good in the scrambles as well. Making your UFC debut is always tough. Fighters, rarely fight up to their potential. And I think in this fight, like I said, as the fight goes on, it starts to become in favor of AlQaisi. So I'm going to say that he gets it done by submission in the third round. So now let's talk about the parlay. So originally it was going to be the two Toms, Tom Breeze and Tom Aspinall, but that's been beat up now. It was at, I think, 1.75 or close to 1.8 earlier in the week. So I can't really recommend that now. So will the fight go the distance? Actually, that might be a decent bet. I'm actually going to take a shot on that as well. It's going to be a small bet. I hadn't even looked at this yet. And I think that close to even money for a guy making his UFC debut and a guy that's kind of mentally, up and down when it comes to fights. He psychs himself out and has a tough time making the walk, but he's a really good fighter. Like, if he was mentally together, and I'm sure he's talking to a sports psychologist now and trying to get the mental game, sorted out. So, I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see this end in a finish. So I'm going to take a shot on it not to go the distance. So now for the parlay. I mean, as far as parlay options, this is what I was looking at. But of course I only do doubles. So those 5, to play with for parlays. Ben Rothwell straight, Omar Morales straight, Topuria as a dog as well. So that's what I'm looking at. For fights that I haven't really talked about, I do lean Impa Kasanganay, but, we've seen him rocked a few times. Joaquin Buckley's dangerous. Dawkins and Nascimento, it's hard for me to call on this one. Nascimento's a little bit overrated. I don't think the line should be where it's at. It definitely should be closer to a pick'em. Dawkins is dangerous on the feet. And, he has some grappling as well. And I wasn't overly impressed with Nascimento, so not interested in that one. Egger and Tracy Cortez. For me, this is dog or pass. She was up at plus 200, Egger. And I wouldn't be mad at anybody taking a shot at that price. Right now, I'd say the line's pretty accurate. Not interested in that fight either. Actually, Egger has some good credentials in jiu-jitsu tournaments and things like that. I was looking into her background. She's pretty impressive. I'm going to go with Egger, but no bet. And of course, the main event. I have to talk about this fight. I shouldn't have put this off so long. So Marlon Moraes and Corey Sandhagen's a really good fight. I'm not interested in a bet because for me, it can go either way. I think Corey Sandhagen has the advantage when it comes to, his cardio. He's good at that stick and move style, stay on the outside. He's got the height and the reach advantage. And if he fights really smart, I think he could definitely pull off a win in this fight. At the same time, Marlon Moraes has a ton of power. He's going to be hungry for the win here. Sandhagen's last performance, was really bad. I mean, he was taken out early in the first round. It's one of those fights where I don't really see the value on either side at this point. I think it's really accurate, the line, and I'm just not interested in it. I'm going to sit back and watch this fight. So I'm going to go with the dog. I'm going to say Marlon Moraes gets it done. The thing about Sandhagen is, even against the opponent that he fought, and I watched this fight against 5'3", John Lineker. I mean, he got tagged a few times, and he had 7 or 8 inches advantage in that fight. He's not going to have that much in this one. He's going to be the bigger guy, but not nearly where it was when he fought Lineker. And he did get tagged a bit. I mean, he definitely took over and cruised late in the fight, but it was a split decision, I believe, as well. So I think Marlon Moraes has some tools that could definitely get him the W here. Wouldn't be surprised to even, see him try to get it to the mat. We saw how easily he was handled in his last fight and choked out quick. So definitely not going to be betting Sandhagen here. And I think Moraes, he's dangerous. I think a lot of people are writing him off because a couple of his more recent performances. But going into the fight against Henry Cejudo, everybody was high on him, how he was a killer, how he was going to put out, Cejudo in the first round. It wasn't even going to be a fight. And then, now we see guys like Sandhagen, a lot of people picking against Moraes. It's a lot of recency biased. But again, both guys have a path. I think Sandhagen has the advantages. But I'm going to go with Moraes to get it done early on in the fight. Third, fourth, and fifth round is going to be tougher for Moraes, but we'll see how it plays out. I'm going to go with Moraes by TKO or even submission. Moraes by finish in the first couple rounds. So I think that's about it. Barboza and Amirkhani, like I said, I lean towards Barboza as long as he fights smart. I think I covered everything. If you have any questions about any of the fights, just leave it in the comments. I'll get back to you. So going forward, I think I'm going to use this style a lot more, where I'm looking at the odds, just pulling up different options and things like that. So let me know if you guys like that. Like I said, if you guys could hit the like on this video, I'd appreciate it. A lot of people not getting notifications, so I just want to make sure, people are getting eyes on the video. But that's about it. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Let me know who you guys have as far as betting goes. I don't think this is the best card for betting, but, I think there's some spots. I wish the lines weren't so accurate. I think the bookies, got it right for the most part. But good luck. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.